Hey everybody, Alex back again with another video. Another part to my going through the 80s, do my top 10 of each year through the 80s. For those of you who don't know what I'm doing here, I've explained it in previous parts, but I'll try and quickly explain it now. So a few years ago, A few years ago, Vinyl Richie started a thread, give me 10 albums from 1980. So he did it, and then Andy Borders from Andy's Vinyl Den, he did it, but he jumped on it and he sort of made it a thread to do it, go through each year of the 80s. And then I jumped on it, but I never finished doing those videos. And instead of just going back and doing the videos I didn't do, I thought I'd just do the whole lot again, because obviously in the time that it's been since those old videos and to now, my taste has changed quite a bit, so I figured I'll just start the whole thread again. So yep, as I said, this is my opinion. If you have a different opinion, please let me know in the comments, or even do your own response to this. I don't mind, whichever you want to do, it's fine with me. So yeah, let's just get on with this video, because I know you guys are here to see the vinyl, so let's do it. At number 10, from 1986 this time, we have Miles Davis with Tutu. This was in the era when Miles Davis was going from more traditional jazz into the more jazz fusiony, jazz funk kind of sound that was going around at the time. And this is definitely one of my favourite Miles Davis albums. I really like this album. I know it's maybe not for everybody, but it's definitely for me. I do adore this album. I think it's his last perfect album. I know that's an unpopular opinion, considering he didn't have many more albums after this, so it may not even seem fair. But for me, Tutu is one of those albums that got me into Miles Davis, so I'm always going to hold it in high regard anyway. I'd say probably one of the only albums of his from the 80s, the only album of his from the 80s that I'm going to include in these videos. But yeah, it's definitely, for me, top 10 worthy. I don't know how the rest of you feel, but still a really, really good album from Miles Davis. Yeah, just really, really awesome stuff there. So excellent. For me, it's an excellent choice. But yeah, let me know what you think of this album, because I'm intrigued to know what other people think. And I know Miles Davis has a lot of albums, so I'm not saying I'm going to get all of his albums, but I'd like to at least, I do try and collect his albums as of when and where I can find them. So there's that one. At number 9, yep, number 9, we have 10, 9. Okay, yeah, number 9, Queen, A Kind of Magic, my favourite 80s Queen album. I know it's low for a Queen album, but as of the albums that are above it, I probably listen to them just a little bit more. Obviously, you've got the title track on here, Friends Will Be Friends, One Vision, Who Wants to Live Forever is on here, which is just such a beautiful song. But yeah, there is Queen, A Kind of Magic, which is absolutely incredible. So yeah, love it. Honestly, I love the cover as well for this album. I just think it's so stunning. Like, how can you not love a bit of Queen, especially 80s Queen? I'm a sucker for 80s Queen, particularly this and The Works. I love those albums. and the game as well, absolutely fantastic. But yeah, just a really good, solid album in my opinion. I would say it's my favourite, probably my favourite 80s Queen album. If not, then it's the game. But yeah, it's definitely a close call between those three. But Queen, A Kind of Magic is at number 9. At number 8, and this one pains me to put it this low considering I am a hip hop fan, but Beastie Boys, License to Ill, I'm putting at number 8. I love Beastie Boys. I think they're incredible, especially in their early career, but this isn't my favourite Beastie Boys album. I think they're still trying to transition from being a punk band to a hip hop band, and Rick Rubin's early rock influence on hip hop is definitely more prominent in this album, with songs like You've Got to Fight for Your Right to Party, No Sleep Till Brooklyn. Just, yeah, it's a good album. I'm not saying that it isn't. It's just when it comes to Beastie Boys, there are albums that, me personally, there's albums I prefer to this one. So that's why it comes in at number 8. But it's still a really, really good album for me. So yeah, Beastie Boys, License to Ill at number 8. At number 7, we have an R&B album here. This is Midnight Star. We have Headlines. The big track on here is called Midas Touch, which if you listen to it, you'll probably recognize. It was, I think it made it to pop radio back in the days. Headlines is a great song, the title track. I actually like everything on here, to be honest. Yeah, absolutely. So, it's just a solid album. Again, one of them ones that I don't listen to all the way through very often. I'll listen to the hits like Midas Touch and Headlines. But when it comes to the full album, I do not spin this one as regularly as the 6 I've put above it. But I still think this album is really, really good. So, of course, I had to put it at number 7. Because every song on there is still catchy. Still really good. Number 6 is The Way It Is by Bruce Hornsby and The Range. Say what you will about this album. I know it's kind of got a Huey Lewis and the News kind of influence to it. But I honestly think this album's incredible. I cannot help it enough. Yeah, it is. But yeah, this is a really, really good album. Not even just the title track, everything else outside of it. The Long Race, On the Western Skyline, The Wild Frontier, Down the Road Tonight. I think this comes under like that soft rock kind of vibe, which I came to really like a few years ago, and this was one of the ones I discovered in that time. And even though it's not an expensive album, it's just one that never came up back then. But I still really like this album, one I still listen to regularly, especially the title track, which I think Tupac may have had an influence on that, because he did use the sample, he sampled it for one of his songs. But I'm going to be honest, I do probably prefer the Bruce Hornsby and the Ranges version of the song, the original. But absolutely phenomenal album. Can't express it enough, which is why it comes in number 6. Getting into the top 5, it was really hard to put the next 5 albums in order, I'm going to be honest. But I think I managed to do it. We have So by Peter Gabriel. Of course, we have great songs on here like Sledgehammer, Don't Give Up, In Your Eyes, Big Time, Red Rain, That Voice Again. Just my favourite Peter Gabriel solo album. I think after he left Genesis, Some of his albums for me were very hit or miss, but this one really hits it at home for me when it comes to Peter Gabriel, and yeah, I just really love it, so I had to put it in number 5. I can't help it, I spin that album loads. Number 4 is actually going to be the last R&B album. I know, a shocker, we've only shown 2 R&B albums in the whole video, but yeah. Surprise, surprise. SOS Band, Sands of Time, my favourite album from this group. May not be everybody's favourite, but for me it's definitely one that I spin the most, the one that clicks with me the most. The title track's great. My favourite song on here is The Finest, which probably is my favourite SOS Band song. Maybe there's a couple others it could be, but that's the one I always come back to. Borrowed Love's a great song. Nothing But the Best. Yeah, just really awesome album there from SOS Band. I know I've talked about a couple of their other albums in these videos, but yeah, really good stuff. Absolutely incredible. Oh, there's that word again.
What, the same word you use continuously?
Yeah, that one. Coming in at number 3, another one that I wanted to put a little bit higher, but couldn't quite do it because the 2 albums I've put above it I probably do prefer over this one. But this is Huey Lewis and the News with 4. Now, of course, everyone probably knows the monster hit off of this album, The Power of Love, which was made popular by the film Back to the Future. Also my favourite film of all time, if anyone cares or wanted to know. Yeah, Stuff with Views on here, Hip to Be Swears on here, A Whole Lot of Lovin'. Yeah, really solid album from Huey Lewis and the News. Maybe my favourite from them. Actually, yeah, definitely my favourite from them. Gotta love a bit of Huey Lewis and the News, so of course I had to mention it somewhere, and it comes in at number 3 for me. There's that one. Number 2, sorry, I'm just readjusting here because it is not comfortable on this floor. Number 2 is Genesis, Invisible Touch. Of course, I first discovered this through the heavy metal band Disturbed, when they did a cover of Land of Confusion, which is on this album. And honestly, it doesn't sound too different. It's a bit heavier, a bit more. They've sort of made it a bit more heavy metal-y, if that's even a term. But yeah, some don't sound too much different. The title track's really good as well. Domino, the Brazilian, really good. Throwing It All Away. But yeah, without a doubt, not just my favourite Phil Collins era Genesis album, but my favourite Genesis album. Maybe, again, there's a toss up between the two it could be, but I honestly do really like this Genesis album, and yeah, I cannot express enough how much I like this album. But coming in at number 1, and this was no question for me, because honestly, when it comes to this band, there's always one album I come back to, and when it comes to this year or just the 80s in general, I always come back to Talk Talk, The Colour of Spring. This was my introduction to Talk Talk, because my dad had the CD and he played it a lot, well, on car trips and stuff like that. But yeah, I love the song. Actually, there's a few songs on here I love. Happiness is Easy, I Don't Believe in You, Life's What You Make It, Living in Another World, Give It Up, Time It's Time. Just a really solid album, not a bad track on it. I used to say it was my favourite 80s album until I discovered The Lexicon of Love by AC/DC, then that became my favourite 80s album. But this could be my second favourite 80s album. It's definitely a close contender for sure. But literally it's just because it's one of them albums I always associate with the 80s and one I always come back to. I just love this album from front to back. I don't think there's a bad song on it. For me, it's a perfect album. I love this album. I don't know what else I can really say about it, because if you know this band, you will probably know this album, and if you know me, you've probably heard me talk about this album countless times, especially throughout some of my older videos. But yeah, there it is. Talk Talk, The Colour of Spring, my favourite album from 1986. So there we have it. That is it for this video, guys. Thanks so much for tuning back into the channel. I appreciate it. I hope you guys have enjoyed these videos so far. We are closing in on these top 10 of the 80s videos that I'm doing, but hopefully I can do more ranking videos throughout each year, because honestly I've been enjoying making these videos for you guys. It's been so hard to pick which albums I want to talk about and which ones I want to include, but they've definitely been fun so far, and sure they will continue to be fun afterwards anyway. But yeah, so with that said and done, that's it for this video. Thanks so much for tuning back in. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if this is the first time you're watching my videos, and if you're already subscribed, make sure that bell is switched on, because that way you never miss an upload. So guys, thanks so much again for tuning in, and I'll see you all again very soon. Bye.